Arriving in theaters on March 24, 1995, Major Payne featured Damon Wayans as a fiercely committed Marine facing off against unruly JROTC cadets. Earning around $30 million domestically, this military comedy cemented its status as a cult favorite. Under the surface of all those drills and push-ups, a separate story unfolded during production. 12 funny and surprising details remain buried in the making of this film. People are often caught off guard learning that Major Payne actually serves as a remake. Most audiences assume the plot sprang directly from contemporary imagination, but the source material goes back to 1955 when Charlton Heston starred in The Private War of Major Benson. Essentially telling the same story, that earlier feature followed a rigid military man assigned to shape up young cadets. Universal Pictures held those rights for 40 years before deciding the concept deserved a fresh update. Wayans brought a specific energy to the character that Heston never matched, meaning his interpretation became its own distinct creation. As a result, crowds sat through the whole movie with no idea they watched a heavily modified version of something much older. Casting almost went in a completely different direction. Martin Lawrence initially stood as the top choice to play the strict Marine. Studio executives eagerly wanted him, but Damon Wayans ended up co-writing the screenplay, tailoring the script around his own precise comedic rhythm instead. Ultimately, Lawrence turned the offer down because he had committed to star in a buddy action movie called Bad Boys. That single decision sent two careers on divergent paths across the same release calendar. Lawrence went on to anchor one of the decade's most commercially successful franchises, while Wayans inherited a character he completely reshaped. Today, imagining anyone else barking those harsh orders feels nearly impossible. During filming, production took an unexpected turn. Nick Castle directed this broad military comedy, and that name carries distinct weight for anyone who grew up watching slasher films. Castle physically inhabited the Michael Myers costume during the original Halloween in 1978. Moving through those shadowy hallways with a slow and unbothered pace, he became a storied on-screen presence in horror history, with his actual face appearing for only a fleeting second during an early rainy scene. A decade and a half later, Castle shifted into directing comedies like this one. Bridging the tonal gap between playing a frightening killer and guiding children through drills feels substantial. Almost certainly, those young actors possessed no idea who called action from behind the monitor. Committing fully to their roles, those child actors performed an action that no amount of makeup could replicate. During the sequence where cadets get their hair chopped down to nothing, those boys wore zero bald caps. Instead, their contracts strictly required them to buzz their heads, a mandate the production strictly enforced. One young performer reportedly walked away from the project rather than lose his hair, leaving an alternate version of this ensemble hidden somewhere in the audition archives. Thankfully, the bold choice paid off on screen. Children react in specific ways when experiencing something real. Seeing those freshly buzzed heads lined up in formation provides an authenticity that a prop department simply cannot manufacture. Method acting found its way into a thoroughly unexpected context. Producers encouraged Wayans to maintain his harsh discipline even when cameras stopped rolling, and he took that note straight home with him. Turning 12 years old at the time, his son, Damon Wayans Jr., ended up doing daily push-ups because his father kept the intense persona running well past sunset. Eventually building a successful acting career of his own, Wayans Jr. survived the ordeal just fine. Still, picturing a small boy enduring relentless drills from a father trapped deep inside a film persona carries a striking quality that no studio press release could invent. Paying close attention during one particular scene rewards viewers. A running gag throughout the film involves the Major relentlessly shouting at a cadet named Williams, eventually declaring with absolute seriousness that he shares zero brotherhood with the boy. This punchline hits harder once you discover the identity of the kid receiving that speech. Playing Cadet Williams is none other than Damien Dante Wayans, the star's actual nephew. Placing a real family member in that precise moment allowed the crew to build humor around loudly denying their obvious connection, turning a decent laugh into a clever Easter egg. Holding its own cinematic history, the campus location boasts a fascinating background. Shooting took place at a real East Coast institution known as the Miller School of Albemarle. Beautiful brick buildings and structured grounds provided an authentic aesthetic that any constructed studio set would desperately struggle to match. This very location already appeared prominently in the thriller Toy Soldiers, released back in 1991. Barely 4 years apart, two entirely separate camera crews chose the very same school to capture similar atmospheric visuals. As a result, Miller School gained a quiet reputation as an ideal filming destination, marking an amusing footnote for a functioning educational facility. Audiences frequently raise questions regarding one unusual dietary sequence. Catching a rogue rat in his quarters, the commanding officer proceeds to cook the creature with disturbing composure. Fortunately, no actual rodents suffered harm or distressing situations while bringing that scene to life. Monitoring the set daily, an animal safety organization confirmed the cooked critter functioned simply as a fabricated dummy built by the talented effects team. Professional handlers managed all real animals featured elsewhere, including dogs and cats, under strict humane guidelines. Ultimately, that gag worked solely through Wayans' unhinged performance combined with impressive prop work, standing as a solid accomplishment from the crew. A bizarre crossover connects this comedy to an unexpected corner of 90s pop culture. Hoping to frighten their tough leader, the cadets arrange for a menacing biker to confront him, a role filled perfectly by famous television grappler Bam Bam Bigelow. Spending the decade as a distinctive titan of televised arena shows, his immense size and the flame tattoos covering his head made him the obvious choice. Producers desperately needed someone looking threatening, and Bigelow provided a raw energy that a standard Hollywood extra simply could not deliver. Passing away in 2007, his brief cameo now serves as a fascinating time capsule of two separate entertainment worlds overlapping neatly in a single frame. Another subtle link connects this project to a blockbuster series arriving just a few years later. Actor Chris Owen played Cadet Wooliger, a nervous yet eager, youthful member of the unit. Operating strictly as a supporting player back then, Owen did his absolute best holding his own alongside a veteran comedian. By 1999, global audiences would recognize him instantly as Sherman, the recurring and deeply mortifying icon from the American Pie movies. Watching a young Sherman spend his earliest on-screen moments doing military drills in Virginia bridges two distinct 90s touchstones, a detail easily escaping notice unless you check the full cast list. Securing one major supporting role required pivoting after a comedy star passed on the opportunity. Playing Dr. Phillips, William Hickey portrayed the somewhat overwhelmed administrator trying to manage the school while coexisting with the terrifying Marine. Initially, the prime offer went out to Leslie Nielsen, a performer who built a large second career delivering deadpan, absurdist work through hits like Airplane and the Naked Gun series. Declining the part entirely, Nielsen forced the writers to adjust the administrator's tone. His particular brand of confused calm would have pushed Dr. Phillips toward a drastically different comedic angle. Instead, Hickey brought a delightfully chaotic quality to the performance, though an alternate version of that dynamic exists permanently in the imagination of dedicated fans. Reaching an ironic peak, the production drama truly shines during a memorable musical moment. Dropping his guard temporarily, the stern Marine performs an enthusiastic and deeply unserious dance to a track by the controversial Miami rap group 2 Live Crew. Spending the late 80s at the center of heated national debates over media censorship, the notorious hip-hop act possessed a wide cultural footprint. The real irony stems from Wayans openly mocking 2 Live Crew during his televised stand-up routines before making this movie, taking pointed shots at their lyrics. Then, he happily danced to their audio track inside a wide theatrical release. Surpassing expectations, that brief dance sequence became widely popular, meaning the joke ultimately landed in the musician's favor, whether the comedian intended that outcome or not. Outlasting countless bigger and louder 90s blockbusters, Major Payne endures largely because it carries genuine warmth beneath all the aggressive shouting. Learning the hidden production history only adds something special to that nostalgic charm. Reviewing everything from a famous horror icon directing kids on a historic campus to a future American Pie star quietly doing drills in the background reveals a fascinating meeting point for surprising details. Understanding that history perfectly explains why this hilarious military comedy remains entirely worth revisiting 30 years later.